Okay, welcome to video 2 in creating our custom subspace transformation um, mocap rig thingy mabob. I really didn't come up with a cool name for it, just didn't. So since we're not going to need any of these, what I'm going to do is hit here is I'm going to lock them. And then we're going to want to find our locators often. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this locator here. I'm going to hit Control A once again to get into my attribute editor. I'm just going to scroll all the way to the top. So you have your transformation attributes, uh, your translate, rotate, scale, all these things here. What you want to do at this point is you want to come here to display. So this is the way it looks when you open it usually, or actually it looks more like this. You just come down here to display, and then when you're here at display, what you want to do is you want to say use outline or color, and then you just right click here, and then you could pick any color you want. And then if we look over here in our outliner, the color is different. So that's going to just help us quickly in the outliner identify what we are doing and what we want to do. So I'm going to do that here as well. On my top one, use outliner color. And then I'm also going to make this one red. Yeah, you know what? Let me make this one orange instead. And you can see the difference between them. But then I'm also going to go to drawing overrides and then enable drawing overrides as well. And then this one, I can't just right click on it. Unless I put RGB on. And I'm just going to try to match it to the best of my ability here. Done. And then drawing override on this one. Enable overrides. I think the index ends up being close enough. Do that there, and then look at what we have. So just quickly allows us to make everything look a little bit different, makes it easier to find. These are the only things I'm going to have like color on, so this makes life a little bit easier. So this basically ends up being our first space. And what I want to do now is I want to create another locator, and then I am going to just put it inside our transfer space, and I'm just going to open that and then just going to show you what happens when well, the first thing we should do is we should move this up a bit, and then when I take this one here and I scale it, you can see that this locator is actually changing its size and space as well. And that's not something that we want. For locators inside of the box, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to scale constraint them. And so really quickly, this is how a scale constraint works. So I'm going to shrink everything down to its base where, and see, I just have to hit 1, and there it is. And then we have our locator that is inside the box. I'm going to just put that in again. Alright, and I'm just going to move this locator up. And this locator here, I am just going to select here, and then I am going to scale constrain it. So constrain, scale. So it's always going to be looking at the world matrices to find out what its scale should be. So now when I scale this one up, you could see that as I zoom out, it doesn't change its size so much, so this is workable. We could see it, it's not too big, so it ends up working fine for us. And then I could always just come back here to my subspace sizer, and I'm going to hit 4. What I want to do is I want to try to find, so this object here, this here. I want to constrain it to the middle of it because that's where I feel like the center of the hip is. So I'm going to come here to point, open up, do not maintain offset, apply, and it looked like it was constrained well enough. So now I can come here and I'm going to break the connections. Oh no, that's what happened. I didn't want maintain offset on. So that was just silly on my part. So now I select here. I click apply. And so I was close. So now I'm going to come here and I'm going to break the connection. And then my transfer space sizer, I'm going to come up here to the attribute editor because it's doing something I just didn't want it to do. So I'm going to go to my limit information. And I limited the rotations, not the translation. So for rotation, and then so I'm going to turn both these on here, and then I'm going to zero that out. Alright, so that's all set. I just want to make sure because I had this selected, I didn't put it on that, and I didn't. Alright, so now we have our proper world sizing, and we're good. And we just want to now go and recreate that over here. And all we simply need to do is we select our translate mover because everything is there. And then we're going to come over here to edit. We're going to duplicate this with a special. And here's what we want. We want this to be an instance. We want this to be grouped under the world. And we want to duplicate the input graph. So that's not available to us right now. So let's see what we need to do to make it work. So I don't want to add any transforms. Oh, sorry, we want this on copy, not instance. We want it grouped under the world, and we want to duplicate the input graph and leaf nodes. Hit apply. True space mover 1 is here, and if we drag this over, we should be able to scale this, and we can, and life is good. So all we have to do now is we simply move this over. As so. And then we just need to line it up with this one here. And then you can see the difference in their gait. It's just slightly off. You can see from the size, you can see everything. You could even see that this locator here is a little bit higher than this one because what it's doing is it's, remember, creating a subspace for us. And all this box does is it allows us to see the volume just to get an idea of how different the subspaces are. And so with a setup like this, we would want to keep them completely lined up as such. And then for here, what we want to do is we want to grab here. We want to grab no, and then here. And then we want to just constrain it. So we're going to do a point constraint, which drops it down. But you can see that it's constrained in all axes, but it just has no place to go. And what we could do now is we could just simply break that connection. And now we have the difference in our subspaces, and I will just take this base here and we will just come back here to our attribute editor, and we want to change the color on this. So for outliner color, I am going to turn this blue. and then you can use the color sampler to also make it that color blue. And for this one here, I'm okay with it being red. So now we just know what's what. Life is good. And we have both our spaces here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide my polygons. And then I'm just going to show you very quickly what these constraints here will do. So looking at this space here, I'm going to point snap this one here, and then I'm going to parent it. And so at this point here, I might actually want to select these handles and then break connections to the scaling so I could make them a little bit bigger so it's easier for me. So select here, constrain, and then we'll parent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at this one, and we are going to take the translation information from here and apply it to here. We're not going to constrain them because we don't want to go through the matrix. We want whatever happens in this space to happen in this space. We don't want whatever happens in this space here to control this one so much that it's trying to match what happens in this space. There's a difference between that. And if you need me to make a video for that, email me, put it up on Padlet, and I'll make a quick video demonstrating that. But we've talked about it a little bit, so I'm just going to leave it alone from that for now. So for this one, all you need to know is that you need to just go to your general editors, connection editor. You might as well keep this up because all of these you will be doing this way. So I'm going to first break this scale constraint, and then I'm going to come here. Oops. I don't want to scroll up that much. Just put it right here, and then I'm going to load this locator, and then I'm going to go from translate to translate, which for some reason it does not want to let me do. So let me come here, look at my translations. Let me look here at my translations. I'm going to reload left, reload right, and make sure translate to translate. And then you could see how these things are acting. And now let me find my little red controller here. And so as I move this up and down, you can see how in this world it's moving forward ever so slightly. So that locator here is just translating the movements that happen in this larger space. Where you can see this locator now is closer to the top of our space here. And then that little floating locator, which I lost, so let me pull it back. Where did it go? Yeah, so it's all the way back here because this is closer to the back now. So it's just looking at one space and it's applying its movement to the other. And this is exactly what we wanted. So with that, I will catch you in the next video.